So today we are talking about manifesting on a time crunch or on a timeline, a limited amount of time that you want to have your manifestation by. Can you do this? Of course you can, but in this video I'm going to go deeper into some of the common pitfalls that actually make this seem almost like it's difficult to do. So I'm going to go deeper into that so you know what to avoid in your mindset, in your state, and then talk about how, give you some tips and tricks and some recommendations on how to successfully manifest on a time crunch. If you're new to this channel or you're just clicking on this video and you've never seen me before, my name is Genevieve. I am a manifestation coach. I primarily talk about teachings of Neville Goddard and Law of Assumption, but I also tie in some of my own like somatic understandings of your emotions and your body and shadow stuff. Like I throw in all kinds of stuff that I've found to be very complementary to Law of Assumption work, because Law of Assumption work is belief work, it's identity work, it's going into your deepest I am about who you think you are and what you think you can have and what you're capable of. And you are doing deep shifts around that. So yeah, you are going to have emotional things come up. You are going to have just like weird body stuff even come up. So I do talk about that stuff. If you want to work with me, I have all the links below. As of this moment that I'm publishing this video, there are 2 courses available in the description below. The Manifest Your SP Master Course, and I call it a master course because it really is. It goes very deep into all the different ways that you can shift yourself to finally get the dynamic you want, the physical dynamic you want with your specific person. But also I have a 31-day self-concept overhaul course, and people have miraculous shifts from that. Like the feedback I've been receiving about that course, the people who have gone through all 31 days of it, it's like amazing to hear about how their lives have changed so much in just 1 month. So I highly recommend that course. You can also do a session with me. You can just check out all the links and see what suits your fancy for today. All right, so manifesting on a time crunch. So I'm going to start by going into the common pitfalls that I see people experiencing and explain to you kind of more in depth, like why sometimes it does not work out. So remember that time is a condition. It is a circumstance. And as we say all the time, that circumstances don't matter. And what that really means is that your fulfillment has to go beyond circumstances. It cannot be attached to circumstances. You can choose your preferences for circumstances after you have decided, as the operant power, I am fulfilled right now. My fulfillment is real. It is alive within me. I am so in touch with my own beingness of fulfillment that I extend my fulfillment to the thing I'm manifesting. That's how we create the new dynamic that causes that person or that thing that we're manifesting to come towards us in a different way. So if we're ever making our fulfillment conditional, contingent, dependent on a circumstance, like I need time to be up at this point, I need this to be done by this point, like that kind of conditional thinking, it tends to not go very well. So I'm saying this right off the bat because when you're too much in that, when you're too much in thinking, okay, fulfillment will happen for me once the time is right, once I get this to happen by this weekend, or once I get this event that's coming up to go perfectly, I'll be fulfilled after that. There's like a very subconscious thing happening within you that's assuming in that way that the time thing is the power, the time thing is the important condition, and you're assuming that you're not the important condition when really you are the only condition. You are the condition. You are all that exists. You are the only thing that says how it's going to be or how it's not going to be. And time has to simply be a minimal effect, a minimal issue that is a part of this. But if you're making time a big deal, and this is what causes a lot of people to fail, they're trying to manifest on a time crunch because time feels like a really big, important deal to them. It feels like, okay, I can't wait anymore. I have to have this by this weekend, or I have, a huge thing coming up. I have to have, $1 million. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but $1 million, by next week. And so it's like this very important, like time is the important condition. Time is the most important thing. So I've got to manage time. I've got to control time. And it's very much, again, it's an outside-in approach where it's like almost like saying, I'm not the power. Time is the power. But really, remember, time is just a condition. It's just a 3D circumstance. It is no more important. It's no more real or valuable than any other 3D circumstance. And so when you're manifesting on a time crunch, you have to be regarding time in that way, that it's not actually that important, or that it's not actually even real in a lot of ways. You have to not be looking at time as a big deal. And that's the way we kind of manifest our way through all circumstances that we don't prefer. Like, you make that circumstance that you're no longer choosing to engage with, you're making it not a big deal. You are saying, I don't really care about that. That's not interesting to me. It's not important to me. It's not even it's not even a problem in my mind. I wouldn't even make that into a problem. So if you're manifesting from the idea of, okay, time's a problem, I've got to conquer it, I've got to figure it out, I've got to make it happen, and time is so important, that's why a lot of the time the time crunch manifestation doesn't work, because you're regarding it from this very time is so, it's almost like time's on a pedestal. So remember, take time and anything you're manifesting off the pedestal. You are the only one who is important. You are the only one who is real. You are it. You are your entire fulfillment right now. And the more you really get back to the core of everything we're doing is what I just said, that I am my fulfillment. Nothing else is my fulfillment. I extend my fulfillment to the things, the people that I want, and I'm very comfortable in that. I feel very natural in that. I feel very normal in that. I assume what I want because I am fulfilled. I am me. I am so real, and I am the most important thing in my reality, and I am the only thing that matters in terms of what my experience is. My experience is the only thing that matters. So time isn't a big deal. Third parties aren't a big deal. Bills aren't a big deal. You have to make all the things that in the past you should trigger you so much, you have to make them practice. Because again, it might not feel supernatural all at once, especially if you are new to this or you're having a lot of anxiety or emotional things come up. It might not feel supernatural and normal all at once to minimize the importance of these 3D conditions or these 3D circumstances, but you do need to practice remembering, oh yeah, time is an illusion. Time is not really real. It's just a 3D based construct. It's not really real. I'm not manifesting on a time crunch because I'm worried about time. That's what a lot of you are doing. You're worried about time. And so the desire to manifest is coming from the worry, and you have to be manifesting from fulfillment. So remember that. So that's kind of the gist in terms of why people fail at manifesting on a time crunch in terms of my own experience. Because when I was new at this, I was always trying to manifest on a time crunch because I was very threatened by time. I wanted things now. I heard people on the internet saying things like, oh, it'll come to you in 3 days. And I felt like I'd be a failure if it didn't come to me in 3 days. And so I was manifesting from the me, from the I am that says, okay, I need this. I need to make this happen in 3 days. And it was from, again, that outside in perspective instead of the inside out perspective that we're supposed to be manifesting from. I was manifesting to get, because I felt like, okay, once I conquer time, this important thing that is time, once I conquer it, then I'll be fulfilled. And it's no, we know that's not how it goes. We say, I'm fulfilled right now. I'm very relaxed. I'm very at ease about this. I don't actually feel any pressure about time about this. Time isn't even really that big a deal. But I can acknowledge that in 3 days, I'm going to see my SP, and I know that they are going to confess their love to me. That's just the first example that came to my mind. But it could also be something like, if you have an exam coming up that you want to pass, or you want to get a raise and you have a meeting with your boss that's coming up and you want to make sure that meeting goes super well and that you want to hear them say in your mind, you're imagining hearing them say that they're going to offer you the amount that you want. Those are very reasonable time crunch things. Anything where there's an event coming up and you want to manifest that event goes exactly the way you want. Those are great, reasonable time crunch things to do. But even if there's not a specific event, even if you just want to hear from your specific person in a week or whatever, that is possible too. But that's the place that I most see this fail, when people put pressure on, okay, I'm going to hear from my SP in exactly, 2 days or whatever. it's usually coming from the identity within you that doesn't have it and is desperate for it. And so it's trying to control. And you have to remember, I cannot manifest from that state. I'm not going to get a good result if I'm manifesting from my desperation. I have to manifest from my knowing that I, of course, easily have it, that I easily have this love. I'm comfortable about it. I'm relaxed about it. I'm really practicing being in the identity that already has it. And therefore, it's easy to assume that, of course, I'll hear from them. I'll probably hear from them in 10 minutes. Or, of course, this thing is going to go well that's coming up. Or, of course, I'm going to win the lottery, or I'm going to get this amount of money, or this is going to happen for me. You're coming from it of practicing the identity. Like, what would it feel like to really be the person who already has it? So that's really the first thing, is if you're manifesting on a time crunch, be very honest with yourself, check with yourself about who are you really being in pursuit of this timeline you've created. Are you doing this out of desperation and needing the 3D to validate you because you feel so unfulfilled? Or are you doing this because you just genuinely know that it's easy and that it's like, of course I can have that. And I wouldn't even be bothered if it didn't happen. That is a good test of if you're really in the right frame of mind. And I know that sounds very bizarre to say, because people are like, well, of course, like, I want it, so why would I be comfortable with not having it? Because the paradox, as you've probably heard me talk about, and maybe you've heard other coaches talk about as well, that when you don't need it, when you kind of are just comfortable with, yeah, I'm just so good within myself, I just feel so like fulfilled, I feel so like just knowing that things are going to work out for me, like no matter what happens, I just know that everything is great for me. When you're really in that, you no longer need outcomes. And when you no longer need outcomes, the paradox is that outcomes tend to work out for you very, very well. So if you can check in with yourself and ask yourself, okay, if this didn't happen, would I be devastated? And if the answer is yes, then you need to work with yourself around that, because that yes is coming from a part of your identity, a part of your I am, that is still dominantly hinged to, I need this external thing to be okay. I won't be okay if I don't have this. I'm not enough without it. I'm not loved without it. I am suffering without it. That identity is deep within you, and you might need to do some deeper work just in your own emotions, like do some somatic inquiry on yourself if you need to process whatever emotion is causing that identity to be so active within you. But if you can kind of work with yourself and get into a genuine, like, okay, even if it didn't happen exactly the way that I know that it will, even if it didn't happen in that way, I would still be totally cool. Like, I'm awesome. So I know, because again, I'm God in my reality and I am fulfillment. So even if it didn't go, it's out of the way. I've decided I'm freaking awesome still, and it's going to be fine. That's when you know that you're manifesting from the right state, no matter what you're manifesting. If you're manifesting a person or a new relationship or money or health or whatever, like, you've got to be coming at it from that weird paradoxical state of knowing that you've got it, but also knowing that even if you didn't have it, that you would still be amazing. That is where the master manifestors are living. I don't know why, but that's the sweet spot where you know what you've got, but you also have this like quiet knowing that you're awesome no matter what, even if you didn't have it. The people who are very threatened by the idea of not having it, they are the ones that tend to struggle the most. And it makes sense, because that, again, like I said, that fear of not having it, it's coming from an identity that says, yeah, I'm not whole on my own. I'm not the God of my reality. I'm not the one who decides my fulfillment. That stuff does. All of this stuff, all these other people, places, and things out here, these things decide if I'm fulfilled or not. And so I'm dependent on these things. And I'm dependent on time to prove to me that maybe I could have them. So again, this is why we minimize the importance of time, because if we're using time in this like kind of desperate, like, okay, time is what's going to really make it happen for me, and it's got to happen quick because I can't handle my life without it, then yeah, any attempt you do to manifest on a time crunch might not go super well. But here's the other thing I wanted to say about this in terms of like my trick, like the thing that I use if I am manifesting a specific event that's coming up, I'm shedding all over the place, or if I'm manifesting on a time crunch, but I really don't do that anymore. Like, the only kind of like time crunches I manifest on now are, like I said, if there's a specific event or a trip coming up and I want to envision that going exactly the way I want it to, I will of course do that. But now the way my life goes is everything automatically is pretty quick. Like, I don't even need to reference time in my manifesting, because when I genuinely shift into the state that I know, and I've gotten very good at knowing when I've genuinely made the right shift, if that makes sense. Like when I know, okay, yep, I know myself well enough to know this is the right state to be in. Once I'm in that state, that's when things just very quickly do shift. And I don't even have to think about time. It's just like almost in real time, they shift with me. So that's kind of, in a way, the better way to do this, is to not even be thinking about time at all, but just know that, yeah, the minute I shift, everything in my life shifts. Everything in the 3D shifts the minute I shift. It's not out there in time. It's not something that I intend, oh yeah, in 3 days that'll happen, or within 2 nights this will happen. It's like I'm just there, and I know that everything in the 3D world is also there with me, because I just know that's how it works. So there's that, but then also the specific trick I was going to give you is, if I am manifesting an event or something that's coming up, I will always regard that thing as if it's already happened. So I think about that event or whatever was the time crunch thing. So for you, apply this to whatever's coming up that you are wanting to go well. So let's say if it really is like a time crunch thing where it's okay, within the next 7 days, I need to find my dream home, or within the next 7 days, I'm gonna have a great conversation with my specific person or whatever. So let's say that you got the 7-day time crunch. I want you to imagine as if it's the week after, like it's, you know, it's now day 8 or whatever, and you are thinking about it as if it's already happened. Because remember, the key for all of this is that we are living in the end. That means we're living as if all of the stuff we've ever wanted has already been given to us. We've already experienced it. And this is why we know my fulfillment is within here. And I've already had everything I've ever wanted. Everything that I have wanted, I have gotten. And so when you think of it, you're almost like remembering it fondly. So that's the thing I would like for you to practice, is if you are like, again, like on day 8, after this like 7-day time window that you've given yourself, you are now on day 8, and you're thinking back on, like, you know, exactly the things that your specific person told you, and you're thinking, I'm so grateful that it happened that way. And you're practicing feeling that relief of like, wow, that really happened, and I'm just feeling so fulfilled about it. I just feel so good about it. Or you're thinking about, like, you know, putting that certain amount of money in your bank account, or you're thinking about like hearing your doctors, if you're manifesting health, like tell you that you're completely disease free, or that you are just completely cured, and that, or imagining yourself telling your doctors that you are totally symptom free and everything is healed up. Like, you're imagining it as if like you're remembering it. Like, I want you to imagine these things as if you're remembering them, and you're feeling that relief of like, wow, I really do have everything I want. And I really want you to make it as genuine as you can, in terms of really telling yourself, this is not just something I'm fantasizing about. Because as you might, if you follow me, you might have heard before, and I'll link the video here, the video about kind of the difference between fantasy and actual reality creation. So I don't want you to go into this as if it's like a fantasy, but really you're still freaking out inside. I want you to really practice being like, okay, I've got to trust myself so deeply, and trust that if I know that this event or this thing has gone this way, I've got to trust that, like, yeah, it did go that way. It really did. And I can really step into that like deeper relief and enjoyment in this moment, that it really did go that way. And just enjoy that. Just allow yourself to enjoy it. But at the same time, don't put pressure on yourself to like stay in that enjoyment all the time. It's also a thing that I see in people. I had this as well, where I would feel like almost on edge, like, oh, I've got to feel that all the time. I've got to make sure I'm like perfectly feeling that feeling of relief and fulfillment. And you do not. In fact, I think it's better to be more boundaried about it, where you have your moment, like maybe you take 10 minutes and just go really deeply into your memory of this thing happening and feeling the relief and like just fully going into it. But once that 10 minutes is up, I want you to go back to your day and just be present in your day and just move on. Because I found that, again, in my own experience, the best way to manifest is to do it in kind of like a boundaried way of like, okay, I've already created that. I've already experienced it. Now I can just be present in my day and just react normally and just live normally like a normal, because it's not reasonable. And it's also like, it's not even good manifesting to expect to put this pressure on yourself. Like, it's a low self-concept to put so much pressure on yourself that all the time you have to like feel elated and like, oh, I gotta feel the wish fulfilled all the time, because that's you saying that this manifestation, this circumstance is more important than you, because all manifestations are just you choosing your preference for circumstances. That's what a manifestation is you saying, okay, I have this specific thing, I have it, and it's just your preference. And then you said, okay, I've got it, now I'm gonna live my life because I've already got it. So, but if you're living your entire life like you are just abandoning yourself to keep making this very, very alive, that's you kind of not even believing that you really have it, you thinking that you've got to like put yourself second to like make it happen, you got to like make yourself perform to make it happen, and that's not going to go well at all. So anyway, so that's what I've got for you today on this. Let me know your comments and questions down below. Let me know if you've ever manifested on a time crunch or if it's been difficult. Like I said, when I first started doing this, I was always trying to manifest on a time crunch and it never worked out for me. And that's why I learned more and I deepened and I found these other somatic tools that complemented the things I do now. Because I realized, okay, me putting so much pressure on the time thing is me not even believing in myself, and also not realizing that when I'm really in the knowing that it's done, it is done. That instant, there is no time. Time is just a 3D construct. It doesn't matter. I don't need to like make it such a big deal. So yeah, so that is the shift that I hope for you. So let me know your thoughts and I will see you in my next video. All right, bye.